1-1 going pop. Getting hot, hot, hot. In the paint, never flop. At the rim like who? Get the crown like Braun. Yeah. Make it some and I'm spending some. What's the plan? Bet I get it done. It's me, yeah, nigga.
Notoriety Sports Network. Built different.
What's good, fellas?
What's up?
We're talking some baseball. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man. Another episode of Notoriety Hoopz talking, what was it, Northwest Division?
Yeah, we speaking hoops.
We got Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, Portland Trailblazers, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Utah Jazz.
Might that be the worst division in basketball?
Ooh. I thought this division was better until I dug deeper. And besides the Jazz and Nuggets, I have some, I don't know where we want to start, but I have some bad feelings about Portland this year. They've just been slightly above mediocre for years, and that's thanks to Dame time.
It's so
it feels like it could kind of implode. They really have nothing outside of Lillard and McCollum. And then if Lillard gets frustrated or he gets traded or anything happens to one of those guys, it just has a feeling that it could all kind of hit the fan this year.
That's why I think they need to trade McCollum, because I think Powell plays off of Dame better than McCollum does, and he's bigger. And then also, it's like, what are you doing? Because you have Powell and Covington. They're almost the same guy.
I'd rather have Powell at this point, but yeah.
Well, Powell's probably a better scorer, but it's like I don't know what their direction they're going. It's like, how do y'all intend to play?
Right. A lot of 3-and-D guys. None of them are that elite outside the top guys. It's a weird team, and then an unproven coach comes in. Like Terry, they probably needed a change, but Terry Stotts is a good coach. Yeah. And he was stability, and you're taking a swing now.
With Chauncey?
With Chauncey, and we'll see. It could go – it takes a while for these rookie coaches to make headway, and Steve Nash had a little benefit of the doubt because he had 3 of the top 10 players. But, I mean, you remember when Jason Kidd was first in Brooklyn, it took a while. He did the spill the beer thing. He had all those notorious moments. And I could see similar things with Chauncey. Now, we don't know until we see him in action. But with how volatile and they're walking on eggshells that this season is, it's more likely to me that it goes poorly than they find some hidden thing that Stotts can never find, and they do very well.
The problem with that team is they always, because they really do have hoopers on their team, like they have real basketball players, they start the season good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it never gives people reason for concern. And by the time they start sucking, it's too late. So that's the only team I know that limps into the playoffs every year.
Yep. They always have injuries. Their trainers in Portland, I don't know what they're doing, but it could also be the travel. They're always the team that has to travel the most with just where they're located. And I think part of that's their division too. I mean, flying from Portland to OKC, Portland to Minnesota, and then when they play on the East Coast, it's even worse. So who knows if that has any correlation with their injuries? But you're right. Every year, Nurkic goes down. Their bigs go down. They have to rely on Whiteside. And it just goes – now he's gone. So really their depth is pretty poor.
I'm not going to lie, though. They might have did good because they got Cody Zeller.
Yeah, that's a good big to have in reserve, but they're definitely the most polarizing team in this division. We know what we're getting out of Utah, most likely. We know what we're getting out of Denver, and then the bottom 2 teams are going to be bottom teams. but Portland really is polarizing because they have arguably a top 10 player in Dame, but the rest is just so many question marks.
I think like either you trade Nurkic or you put him at the 4 and go get another big man to play with him, because he's too brittle to bang with everybody. So you need to let him move off the ball a little bit, kind of like how they were trying to protect Horford in Atlanta. It's like, we got to get him out of the 5 spot. We got to get him out of the 5 spot. It's that situation from them now. But once they did, I think it would help them. Like a Steven Adams on that team would help them.
And I feel like a guy like that's not impossible to get because a lot of teams need a 3-and-D guy, and those are hard to come by. But a traditional big, you can find those in Europe. You can find those in back alleys. You can find those basically anywhere if you just want a guy who can rebound, set screens, and roll. I mean, they may not do it super efficiently, but you're not asking for an all-star center. You just need a solid center. Then, yeah, you could play Nurkic at the 4. And since they play 3 guards basically with Powell, you can say he's a small forward, but he's basically built like a guard. They give up a lot of size, and they're always a bottom team in defense because of that.
But that's why I think they need to play another big because
it'll
help them.
Welcome.
What up? It'll help them get out and run. You know what I mean? Because I would feel a little bit confident knowing that Nurkic can take off with the ball and give me 10 dribbles.
I mean,
yeah.
So
I mean, that's the thing is you have to figure out a way to let CJ and Dame play off the ball more. It has to happen.
What would be more realistic? Portland finds a groove, Chauncey's a great coach, and they win this division, or everything goes to hell and they finish last in the division?
It goes to hell because the West is too good.
I think they're gonna do way worse than a lot of people expect them to do. I feel that like you said earlier, the Damian Lillard wave, it's at some point it's gonna dry up. It's the West is getting too stacked.
Damian Lillard is the things he does is legendary, bro. So I mean, that game he had against Denver in the first round that went like 2 OT. He can't. He's not built to do that for a full season and some playoff games.
Yeah.
He's not built like Harden.
No, he's not. Like if he was bigger like Luka, I would be like, okay, maybe he can win a series. But it's hard for him to even win a series with the team he has. I mean, like you said, Joe Nurkic goes down almost every year. He's becoming the CMC over there. Like it's like, dude, like, and I mean, it's just like we've said it before though on the show. Like they don't do enough to give him weapons to compete in the West. If this was a team in the East, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe he can get top 4, maybe, you know. Not in the not in the West. That Wild West is a totally different monster out there.
He deserves better too. He's one of the most clutch players in the league. And when you look at a little bit how he's built and how well he is at shooting, how good he is at shooting, it reminds me a little of Atlanta. If he was in the East on a team like Atlanta, those teams would run it. They would make the Eastern Conference Finals or maybe better because I think he's better than Young is, at least at this point. It's a shame.
I think he's on an individual basis. He is better than Young, but he reminds me a lot of Luka and Harden. His y'all are so ball dominant. Like everything has to revolve around you, and he just hasn't showed me that he makes people better.
Yeah, he's not. His distribution isn't the best, but I guess when you shoot as well as he does and prolifically as he does, maybe that takes a little bit away. But yeah, if he was more, but part of it too is who does he have to pass to? At least in years past, he really hasn't had many guys he could trust on. And it kind of feels like it's just him and McCollum taking turns ISOing and trying to score. And that makes it really tough. And we've mentioned Portland probably in every episode we've done, every division we've done as a big trade target. And what that trade is, whether, as you mentioned, a McCollum for a better player or a Lillard trade could really swing this whole division.
That's the thing is the best thing to do for the team would be to trade Lillard, but he says he's loyal to them and they would be stupid to get rid of him.
And that's what makes it tough. It's kind of like the Bradley Beal situation. You have a top whatever player and
it's the exact same situation.
And it's like, what are you going to do with that? Because it's very rare you get a player committing to these smaller markets and you have one, but you've done nothing to build around him. And part of it's just misses. They've missed on draft picks. They're not getting any free agents to come. Aldridge left for nothing. And then they hit on McCollum. They hit well on these smaller school guys. Yeah, but then
they let Collins walk for nothing. I'm not saying he was worth a whole lot, but that was the draft pick. You should have traded him a year ago when he was healthy for a second round pick or something. Myers Leonard, he's gone. You have nothing in return for that.
I don't know how much they miss. Yeah, but they could use a center. But and even the Powell thing, I like Powell better than Gary Trent. But Gary Trent was younger, cheaper, and wasn't that much worse, and potentially could become even better than Norman Powell. And they gave up a pick, so that seemed like a desperation trade. They needed to do something to appeal to Dame, but I don't think it really moved the needle.
Also, it would probably help that team a whole bunch if Anthony Simmons was more consistent. If you're like, I'm gonna go be that 15-point a game dude, it would help that team.
He was all hype, especially coming into last year. He was getting so many rave reviews, killed it in summer league, blah blah blah. But he's been very inconsistent, and really, that's really not what they need. They don't really need another ball dominant guard, even if he does come into his own.
But he's one of the better players they have, so he has to do it. Like, if you could expect anything from him, this is what he's gonna do.
Yeah, or he plays himself into a trade piece.
That's what he has to do, because right now, even if he's at his best, it reminds me of like the Clippers with Lou Williams. It's like they don't really need you, man. You don't help that team.
Mm-mm.
But they're gonna regret letting Melo leave. I can tell you that.
Melo.
He had some moments, in the playoffs.
Oh, we're forgetting somebody. Portland has somebody on their team now that's gonna help them. Ben McLemore.
I forgot they signed him.
He'll shoot it, and he gets hot.
Do you think that's enough, though, to put him, let's say, second in this division?
No, hell no.
I just had to ask. I was like,
it's Denver and then Utah.
I'll always remember McLemore dropping in the draft, and I think Aaron Rodgers tweeted it's going to be the steal of the draft, and then apparently Rodgers doesn't know basketball well enough. But
Nick as Nick would say, he went to basketball purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento.
Who?
McLemore.
Yeah, that's I mean,
but then again,
talk about
McLemore. It's just like that team is just loading up with guards.
If you want to talk about real purgatory, we can talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves in this division.
I think they're going to be better than OKC. I have them fourth with the sneaky potential if Lillard gets traded to be third in this division.
Do you think they're?
You
still think they're going to do good though, James, with the firing of their GM the other day?
That was shady, but the more I read about that, it might actually stabilize the franchise because it sounded like he was doing some extracurricular activities.
he was pulling a Deshaun Watson over there.
Yeah, he was getting a little something on the side, a little extra credit. Maybe not focused on basketball. He made some pretty bad trades too.
That team needs a point guard bad.
Yeah.
D'Lo's not. I don't think D'Lo's a good fit. I mean, they were really unhealthy too last year. Malik Beasley looked really good when he was healthy.
Beasley's a score first guard.
Yeah, that's true too. They have a lot of score first guys, but I think Anthony Edwards is taking a leap this year. He showed some real flashes with the new coach last year. I could really see him becoming a player that, one, you want to watch, and two, that makes people feel better about the franchise, because as much as it's easy to knock on Cat, that dude's been through a lot, whether in basketball and in life. Yeah. So it kind of feels like he's due, and it may sound dumb, but he feels due for a turn where some good things come his way. And if that's being traded to a different team, then
it is. It's exactly what it is. You keep Anthony and you find the best package you can for Cat and D'Lo. What can I get?
Even like a replacement like Miles Turner and some picks and another nice player from Indiana, something where you can get a big back. And going from Cat to Miles Turner or someone like that would be great for the defense, because their defense is atrocious and Cat is a terrible defender. He shoots the light out of the ball, so that's nice. But I feel like Cat would really benefit from being on a team where, one, he isn't the guy, and two, he doesn't have to worry as much about the defensive end. If he could just play off the ball and then on defense has a stopper behind him, he could really come into his own.
But that's the team being ran poorly because they have really good individual defenders on that team. Okogie, Josh McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, he can play defense. He's just lazy. So they're not – it seems like it's not a requirement to them, you know?
Yeah. And part of that may have been because their defense did improve with Finch when they hired him midseason, which was weird too, hiring a coach outside the organization midseason without
But
interviewing
it worked
anyone else.
because dudes like Naz Reid, the center, like he just gave so much effort. There was some games where it's like, damn, why is this dude not getting good rotation minutes? You know. So some people could. I mean, he got some people to play better than they should have.
Yeah.
Side goes, is Ben Simmons really in a position to make a stand, though?
Yes.
Any of these, so we can tie it to this division. Could you see any of these teams making a Simmons trade?
I could see all of them making the Simmons. No, not the Nuggets.
Not
But,
Utah.
like,
I don't think Nuggets in
Utah.
Utah.
With Gobert and Mitchell.
I don't think there's anything Portland wants off of that they could I don't see anything where Lillard goes to Philly. I don't see that happening.
What about McCollum and some picks for him?
I think if you do a 3-team
I don't
trade,
think
maybe.
you could even as foolish as we think Morey is, you got to remember he's not even the GM. He's a GM assistant. Elton Brand's the GM. And I don't think he wants McCollum's old ass. Like, I don't.
Yeah, Morey always wants the best player in the trade. He
Exactly.
wants
That's the thing. And I think Elton Brand looks at it like, how can the team get better? And it's like, could McCollum step in and play in that system off of Embiid and do better than Seth Curry? No, he can't.
I would like Simmons on Portland, though. I think that would be nice. It gives him a defensive stopper. He could play off of Lillard. He wouldn't have to do anything on offense. He could shut down the other team's best guard. Lillard could take defense off.
Like, I could see him going to Minnesota, but I don't think that they're willing to give up the picks because they'd have to give up like D'Lo and some picks because they don't want Cat unless they can find a third team.
Yeah.
Cat and Embiid would be an insane.
That'll be that perfect kind of deal where you send like D'Lo to Philly and then you involve a third team and you send Cat to Indy and then Brogdon goes to Philly or something.
I think that's one of those trades. I think like especially for Portland, if you're underachieving what you thought, you're gonna have to start looking and reevaluating your team. Like, are we really this bad? Like,
but that's the thing is you are because you don't have value in anything.
Oh, we know they're that bad, but for some reason they think that they're gonna roll with what they got. And I mean, I get you got to have confidence, but there's a part also of like common sense. Like,
in my personal opinion, McCollum has no value as a primary piece in a trade until you know what's happening with Bradley Beal.
Yeah, he's a poor man's Bradley Beal. Like, I mean,
and Morey's waiting on that. Morey's definitely waiting to see if Lillard and Beal will become available. He doesn't care. Like, what's Simmons gonna do? Hold out and then not get paid? That's gonna be fascinating to see because Morey's one of the few guys who will take a stand on this. He won't give in to Simmons's request just because he has to. He's not going to take a trade where they just get like D'Lo a first round pick back.
But I don't think Simmons is gonna. He's playing. I don't think he's gonna show up.
Yeah, I honestly think that Philadelphia crowd has truly, the city alone has truly been like, no. Like, Simmons is done with the city. The boy probably ain't even living there anymore. He probably out somewhere else.
We're about to see the NBA's version of Le'Veon Bell.
But Simmons is better than Bell was because at that point, Bell had a lot of miles on him. He's a running back in a quarterback league. Simmons still has potential. People keep wanting him to be all these things that he's not, and rightfully so. He should be able to hit at least a mid-range shot. But
that's the thing. If you take the expectation of him away from him and what you think he was going to be, he's a good player. His numbers say he's a good player.
Would have been Defensive Player of the Year. And yeah, if you take that away, but I mean, I would almost guarantee it's going to be at least a 3-team trade. Very rarely do you see 2-team trades in the NBA
like
anymore.
4 or 5 team trades now in the NBA.
And
that's
also,
what I told Nick and them at Bayou City. It's like the team that I think has the best chance. The Rockets.
I would love Ben Simmons in Houston. You got young talent that you need to trade away because you're getting too stacked already with certain positions. You have picks. I don't want those Brooklyn picks.
Too stacked.
Well, no, I mean, like, because if you get Ben, then you got, like, Jay Sean Tate over there still, and you still got, like, the rookie Christian Wood. I mean, you got guys that I don't want to be Cleveland with like 10 centers and stuff. Like,
shout out Cavs Nation.
I mean,
God,
we could legit put him at the 4 with 4 shooters on the floor with him.
That'd be fun. I'd watch that team.
I'm gonna watch it anyway.
You'll get a Bucks fan to watch the Rockets games on Bucks days off if you had Simmons with those guys. That really is an enticing team, but you could also see a 3-teamer as well with Houston and Indy, or Houston and Portland, or Houston and Minnesota. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 or a 1-on-1. You just don't see that anymore. But I could definitely see Minnesota or Portland getting involved, but also keep an eye out for OKC. Not to get Ben Simmons, but to be involved in that trade. They could throw in a few picks. They could throw in, like if Portland was involved as well, throw in a few picks, get Anthony Simmons. They could get.
But if I'm OKC and I'm involving myself in that, I have so much equity and capital built up right now. I don't need nobody else. I have nothing but space and opportunity. So if you wanted Ben Simmons that bad, that might be one of them deals where you could say, I'm willing to offer up 5 first-round picks for this dude right now.
Yeah, or get someone back from like Kevin Porter Jr., one of the guys you have who has a lot of potential, but as Nick said, is it pretty crowded positionally. So they could take one of these Houston guards or wings back and just give them a chance. OKC's got to start moving on something, or else they're going to end up like Boston, but without Jason Tatum. I mean,
what I would do if I were them is I would get on the phone with New Orleans and say, how many picks you want for Zion?
Yeah.
Like, how many did it take?
Because he wants to leave.
Imagine Zion, though, like his agent being like, look, we got you out of New Orleans, but you're going to Oklahoma.
Yeah, but still.
It's just like gosh.
It's not that bad. I mean,
it's a good organization, especially compared to New Orleans.
If you're Zion, and you wanted to play today, if you said the Pelicans or the Hornets, I'm going to go to the Hornets because New Orleans got a bunch of people in my way. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm going to go over here and it's wide open. Let's just run.
Wait, the Hornets or the Thunder?
The Pelicans are like, he don't fit on that team.
The Pelicans have fumbled the whole Zion thing for like 2 years already.
It's because he's so uniquely different. You can't build around Zion when you already have a bunch of stuff you don't want to part ways with.
And yeah, I mean, OKC has the assets to make a trade for a star. And you could argue with Shea as your point guard if you added a Bradley Beal or a Zion or maybe not Lillard. But
I don't even think with that combination of that would make the playoffs in the West. But
it's a core.
Yeah, and you could start plugging people in.
Yeah, and you could tell OKC, which I picked, I have last in this division, just because it seems like they're still doing a version of the process where, and you could tell by their draft pick, and I think part of it was just lottery luck. They got pretty unlucky getting the 6th pick.
Yeah, I think
they
took Giddey because everybody else done said they wanted him. New Orleans had 7, and they said they wanted Giddey, so they took him. It's like that was a hoe move.
Presti's a little hoe in the nicest of way. He's pretty good at.
Here's my issue with OKC is you have nothing to show except for picks for Moses Brown. You basically traded Moses Brown to take on Kemba to pay him off to leave. So now you lost out on a really good big man prospect for nothing.
Yeah, they almost have an embarrassment of equity, like you said, and it gets to a point where it's like, well, now what? What do you do?
You know what it's like? It's like when you save up a bunch of money to buy your first car, and then you think you have enough, and then you realize cars are more than I got. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that I want in my budget.
Right. It's like, oh, I didn't know you have to pay monthly. You know, that sucks. Yeah. Or like people get into investing and they're like, wait, you have to pay taxes on these stocks? It's like, it sounds good on paper, but then it's like, wait, we have to actually draft these 25 first rounders? And there's how many spots on our roster?
Like, I legit would be willing to part ways with 5 first-round picks for Zion right now if I'm OKC.
Right. It's like you can't just create like a second G League team and have like 3 G League teams for all these prospects. You're going to have to trade some people. And there's definitely a trade. It doesn't even have to be a home run like that. It could be 3 first rounds for X player, 3 first rounds for Y players. Start slowly building a core. I mean, OKC did it through the draft the first time around, and they really should have won a title. It's pretty crazy that core never won a title, but they drafted beautifully, and then they let it all slip away over time, which is part of being a small market. So, I mean, they're likely to get a top 5 pick this next year, and if not the year after, multiple top 5 picks. So,
yeah, but what does that mean? You'll be good in 7 years?
Yeah, that's true too.
I'm going to use this stuff now, and I'll worry about that then.
In a small market, it's tough to be bad for a long time. OKC got really spoiled being able to move to the middle of nowhere. You guys know what Oklahoma's like. It's the middle of nowhere. You got Kevin Durant, then you got Westbrook, then you got Harden. And those Thunder crowds were awesome in those runs, playoff runs. But now you have nothing. Are you going to sell out Chesapeake Arena, if that's what it's so called, if you have Shea Gilgeous and 75 first-round picks?
He said he's the black Steve Nash, so let's see.
What's Steve Nash? The one that started on Dallas? Or
no, the coach for Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Lakers Steve Nash, because it ain't. Yeah, Steve Nash. I just don't know what that team is doing.
I like SGA too. That was a good trade since they were rebuilding anyway, getting him from the Clippers. But he's just going to become like D Lillard if they can't build anything around him.
I think you said it perfectly, James. They're going to be the Boston Celtics, and like people praise Boston, people up to the point of like last year, and they were like, okay, now you need to make trades. Now you have the core, add to it now, do something, and you see at the trade deadline like there's some trades they could get, and they never pull it. They just hold their picks. And
I feel the same way about Utah.
Go on.
It's like the combination of Mitchell, Ingles, and Rudy is not gonna get you to where you need to be. And it's no disrespect to those guys because it's saying they're bad. It's just that combination don't work. They're so reliant on Ingles sometimes, and that team, the pace is different. They play different, and
Ingles won't look good if he gets traded out. I mean, that's a little bit black and white. I won't say he won't look good. He's not going to look as good if they trade him. He fits that system perfectly. He fits what Quinn Snyder wants him to do perfectly. But it is slow. When he comes in to run the point, it slows things down. He's not that good on defense.
No, my thing, he's terrible on defense. I mean, he's not terrible. I take that back. But the more that you allow Ingles to do what he does, that means Conley doesn't have to, and he's underperforms all the time. And then you go give him more money.
Yeah, I have Utah first in this division, but a lot of that regular season success rides on Conley's hamstrings, both of them. And also, it'll be interesting to see. I saw this somewhere online that if Utah does what Milwaukee did last year in the regular season and try to figure out their playoff woes during the season and tinker around with a small ball lineup, they got maybe a small ball 5 in Eric Paschal from Pascal from the Warriors.
That's your off the bench big man score right there. That was a good pickup for them.
It was, because everyone crapped on Gobert, and I don't like him. I think Gobert's, the Jazz fans, that he's their god, but I don't think he's that good. But I also think he got a little too much of the blame in the playoffs, where that's on the coach. If you see your guy getting roasted.
Let me tell you this. As a Houston team that put him out like, 3 times in recent, I think it's 2 or 3 times. When we found out we were playing Utah in the first round, we were like, thank God. This is easy. You are the dummy we're attacking, because they hype you so much for them bullshit 2 blocks a game you get that the rest of your team thinks you're actually that good, and they are lazy. So they're going to let me come to you. And when you let me come to you, eventually you're going to stop moving your feet and you're going to get out. Foul. And then it just gets easier and easier. That's the problem with Utah.
He's one of the few guys who makes Ben Simmons look like an offensive threat. Gobert might be the worst offensive big man or player I've ever seen. It's so awkward. And I'm in Utah now, so I have to watch more Jazz games than I'd like.
Hey, but they picked up Whiteside. That was a good pickup too.
That was, but he also can't do much on offense. But Gobert thinks he's this like suave, savvy offensive player. He tries to do some Giannis moves where he backs the guy down and spins, but then he falls over, throws it up. It's basically embarrassing. That's one way to put it. He's a decent free throw shooter, but he's so scared. He's the least aggressive big. And he has an 8-foot wingspan, but he's scared to initiate contact. He doesn't offer anything on offense. And then in the playoffs, teams pick it apart because, as you said, they know the other defenders are pretty bad overall. And it gets hidden in the regular season because of Gobert. But in the playoffs, you do what Ty Lue did. You play small. You have 5 shooters. And then Gobert either leaves Terrence Mann wide open in the corner or he leaves and covers them, and then it's an easy drive to the rim. And they didn't really get any good perimeter defenders.
Well, Clarkson's a terrible defender.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're going to test loyalty because if you want to play small ball, Bogdanovich could play the 4, and Bogdanovich can hoop.
I like Bogdanovich.
I do too.
Also,
the issue is now
aggressive.
You brought in Pascal, same size, kind of in the same. They play the same position, and you brought in Rudy Gay. So what do you do with Rudy?
Gobert or Gay?
Rudy Gay.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you still have to find minutes for Royce O'Neal.
Mm-hmm. And Royce O'Neal,
Is the only defender.
he tries his best, A for effort for that dude, but they call him their best perimeter defender, but he gets torched in the playoffs by better guards. And in the regular season, he shuts down people because he just lets them get to Rudy. And this isn't every time. He's not god-awful, but and drafting, I think their draft pick was good. Jared Butler from Baylor. He fell to them at 40. But he's raw. He's not going to come in and get a bunch of stops and make a world of difference right away. So, oh, man. Quinn Snyder gets hyped up to be this offensive or defensive mastermind, but he's going to need to do something in the regular season, try different things to see what could work in the playoffs.
You need another good wing for Donovan to play with. It's just not fair to him. Look how good Jamal Murray looks with Jokic and Porter. Give Donovan Mitchell somebody to run with like that. Let's see what happens.
It's easier said than done because they don't have many moves to make. I think the Gobert extension may be their doom. And I said it at the time, and Jazz fans wanted to kill me, but I said, you're not winning a title with Rudy Gobert as your second best player.
Barbecue.
And they were like, oh, his defense, his advanced metrics, his blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what do advanced metrics get you in the playoffs when Terrence Mann is lighting you up for 38 points?
Nothing. When he's shooting from damn near half court. I don't care how good Rudy thinks he is. He's not blocking me from half court.
Just like this, just waiting there.
Right. It's bad. And then last year's draft was stupid. They drafted Azubuike, who I like. I liked him in Kansas. But why are you drafting another big traditional center when you need a perimeter 3-and-D guy?
Yeah.
They don't make sense. And maybe the new owner and having Wade there will help. But the Jazz's identity is really weird because part of them are stuck in the 90s. But then you have Donovan Mitchell, who's this transcendent player who could lift your team to new heights. And I don't know what you're doing with them.
He don't either. But good thing he don't complain about it. He just goes to hoop.
He's awesome. I really got a lot of respect for Mitchell. He's feisty too. He gets into it with the other team's best player. He wants to rip your soul out. And it's too bad that Gobert's the exact opposite. Gobert's like, oh, sucker blue. Sorry, here.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend you.
Get your big ass up. You're 8 foot tall. What you laying down there for? You fall every play. He's like an 8 foot tall version of Pat Bev.
Oh man. No,
Pat Bev also in the division. Shout out.
Oh man. Pat Bev said that. So I told Zach this the other day. I think I said it to you, James, that one of the records is getting broken. Pat Beverly's, every team he's been on has been to the playoffs. And I think it's 15, it's probably about 9 years or something in a row. And Minnesota hasn't been in the playoffs since God knows when. So
we beat them that 1 year they had Jimmy Butler.
They snuck in with Butler, but they haven't won a series in 18 years.
Damn. Yeah, So one of these records is getting broken. He believes that they're making the Western Conference playoffs, but
he can believe what he wants, and I don't hate Pat Beverly as much as you guys. Sounds like you guys do.
I just laugh. I just
It's
Let's
tough.
be real. Let's be real. If Doc Rivers didn't give him that stupid contract, he would not be in the league today.
He's feisty. He gets under people's skin. You can give him that, but you could talk me into the T-Wolves as a playing team in the East. They have enough potential to stay healthy.
I was like, wait, what?
In the East.
I was like, hold on, Jay's going crazy now.
I'm losing it.
Yeah.
But in the West, they 12th, 13th is their ceiling.
Yeah. They're literally the only team that might be worth. Well, I don't know. They're better than like Sacramento.
Do you have them below OKC?
No. OKC, in my opinion, is probably going to be the worst team in basketball.
Yeah, I agree. But
the fact that you have a number 1 overall pick, two All-Stars on that team, and when I'm fixing to ask you, do you think Minnesota's as good as Houston? That just proves that they suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, Minnesota basketball has been bad when right now they're competing with us to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, dude, we just got bad. Like, I remember last year's games, their players were talking so much trash. Like, yeah, we beat those sorry Rockets. I'm like, bro, y'all, we're 15th, you're 14th. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it
was a comeback win.
Yeah. And so then we come back like 3 days later and we beat them. And then they were like, oh, we can't be losing to bad teams. You're right there with us. You're not like, it's not like it's the Lakers up here and they lost to us. Like, I don't know. That team there is something else.
Yeah, 2 number 1 picks is a good point because usually when you have 2 number 1s, they're going to be decent. I mean, remember when the Cavs kept getting number 1 after number 1? I mean, one of them was Anthony Bennett, which was a disaster, obviously. And then they turned Wiggins into Love. And then Kyrie.
I would a draft whole show go quiet on what the hell since Anthony Bennett. I remember dudes were like,
that was the first time I ever asked him, who the hell did it? Who?
Yeah, I usually know my draft too, and when that happened. And the fact that they still won a title a few years later just shows how good LeBron is. If he could lead a team who completely threw away a number 1 pick, throwing it away that bad and still winning a title is amazing, even if you have a generational player come back. But, man, and for Minnesota's case, they didn't really pick the wrong guy. Like, Cat was the right pick if you look at it. You couldn't really pass on that talent. And then Anthony Edwards was a little controversial, but he showed to be most likely the right pick. I mean, you could have got LaMelo, but
LaMelo was I get why they did it because LaMelo, everybody was like, LaMelo had the Curry effect. It's like you think he's gonna be good, but you kind of want to be a hater on him a little bit because everybody's like, Curry's not gonna be good. Why would anybody take Curry in the top 10? You know, It's like shit should have went first.
Yeah, LaMelo.
Imagine that right now if you had LaMelo, D'Lo, and Cat.
But to our point earlier, what if in this universe that LaMelo getting stuck in Minnesota purgatory, he wouldn't have looked as good as he did in Charlotte? Because Charlotte had some nice guys who could run with him. I don't know how LaMelo would have done in dysfunctional Minnesota. I'm sure he would have been good, but I don't know if he would have looked as good. Then he might have been more in Lonzo's situation where he went to the wrong team and now people are writing him off.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
they probably wouldn't have won it. The fact that the Hornets won more games than we thought they were it embellishes Melo's effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have got
that in Minnesota.
That's what's hard about these what ifs. Like when the Kings drafted Bagley over Luka and Young, still stupid. You can never defend it. But if they got Luka, I wonder how good Luka would be in Sacramento.
I think he would be the same because, in my opinion, Dallas is not that good. I mean, it'd kind of be the same team.
Yeah,
big man playing off of Luka, and then you probably get one decent shooter off of him.
I think it would have hurt Trae Young more. Putting Trae Young in Sacramento,
that would be
jacking up like 30 shots a game, and he would have been ridden off so fast. Everyone would call him a bust.
But in Bagley's fairness, defense, That just comes from like big national TV stations saying dumb shit. When you compare Bagley to Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
and somebody who don't know basketball, like they can't do an eye test, they look at metrics and paper and stats and that, they hear that and they're like, oh yeah, he did have good numbers. He's Durant. Let's draft him. That's stupid.
Well, it's stupid too that everyone keeps getting burned by drafting big men too high. And then you see the Suns take the best big man available, and you're like, all right, we'll take 1B, but he was not really close to Aiden. And it just seemed really weird. Like he could have traded down to the 5th or 6th pick and probably still got Bagley in that draft.
Yeah.
The Kings always are doing their own thing, though.
Like, we could always trade down, but let's be controversial. We need to make the news.
Yep.
Here we go.
We need to depress our fan base even more. But back to this division. So who do you have first then? We haven't really talked Denver at all. Do you have Denver first or Utah?
Well, that's what I was going to say, though. Like,
Denver's my go-to. They have it.
It's weird because Denver is like that number one team, and the media just hates this. They hate the MVP. How do you hate the MVP, bro?
No, there's a chance Utah can finish first because they had a really good regular season.
Bro,
I do first.
But Denver's the better team.
Bro, Denver doesn't even play on Christmas, bro.
I'm okay with that.
How do you leave the MVP off of Christmas? He's not even in the NBA 2K commercial. Like, bro, they've treated this MVP like if he just does not matter, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of unfair. It's like an asterisk. I mean, he hasn't really gone out and he didn't really petition for winning the MVP either. I don't know how much he really cared compared to like how much Embiid cared.
Oh yeah, Embiid was like crying and everything.
But it is sad how little recognition they get. I put Utah first just because regular season they have the formula down unless they tinker with things and try things out for the playoffs. But I like Denver. They have the best player in the division. Jokic is the best player. But Michael Porter Jr. just he scares me just because of his injury. I really like him as a player. He's a great shooter, tall, lanky, versatile, but bad back, injured every year, and streaky. And he's young. He's like 21, 22, so he'll get that. He'll probably get more consistent. But as of now, if Jamal Murray was healthy, I'd pick Denver to win the division. But because he's going to be out for a while, I got to take Utah.
I still think Denver's better because they have the best system and they put the players on the team to run it. So no matter what, Jokic is going to have the ball at the top of the key looking for somebody to come off a down screen. They got Will Barton. They re-signed Austin Rivers. I don't know why, but they went to get Jeff Green to help Aaron Gordon. So I just think that that team will be okay.
Jeff Green wants to play for every NBA team. He's just doing his
and I'm hoping that they give more playing time to Bobo. Bobo can hoop.
I love Bobo.
Me too.
When I was looking at their roster, I was like, damn, Bobo would be cool. And you could argue he could play with Jokic too.
Yeah, he could.
A little bit.
And you still got Jermichael Green on that team. If you get somebody in foul trouble, I just think that they're deeper than.
And to counter my point, they have an offseason to prepare with no Murray. When it happened in the season, it's like, oh, we got to find Murray's replacement. But now they've had the whole offseason. They have a good coach who can Malone can figure things out. So being prepared for that and running things even more through Jokic, I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 10 assists.
He'll get close to it. But also it's like Campazzo, he gave him good minutes. He's like a pesky little player. Like he reminds me of
TJ
McConnell. And then they have Monte Morris. He hooped. He balled. That's why they traded Beasley. So I think they'll put up points.
Yeah, the only reason I gave Utah the edge is Utah's built for the regular season and the injuries from Denver. But otherwise, if Murray comes back looking pretty good or 90% of what he was in a playoff series, I'd take Denver. That's what's weird about.
That's what's weird about the division is you might have two teams in the top 5 out of this division and nobody else.
Do you think Portland misses?
I think they'll be down there sniffing for one of them. I mean, let's just keep it real. Not last year, but the year before, they barely beat Memphis in a playing game. Yeah. Went to the first round and got swept by the Lakers. Mm-hmm. Last year, they didn't do nothing in the playoffs when they got there. I mean, Lillard did, but the rest of them didn't. Denver beat them. It's like you don't have a track record recently of doing anything anyway. So I don't see anything changing.
I really feel Portland's gonna achieve this year. You're going, like you said, they've almost literally lost to the Grizzlies. Like, you know, as much as I wanted to hype up Dame time, this and that, Ja Morant almost sent you home, bro. Like, and I think last playoffs really proved Damian Lillard needs help. Like, you saw it clearly if you watch those games. This dude needs help, and you got him nothing. He actually lost people. So I don't know.
Is Derrick Jones Jr. still on that team?
He's been traded so many times.
I don't know. You lose track of him. They wasted a pick a couple years ago on Nasir Little from North Carolina. That was a wasted pick.
They've wasted a lot of picks, but it wouldn't shock me if they're 8, 9, or 10 in the West. The West has had some shuffling around. We'll get to the Pacific Division in the coming weeks, but the Clippers without Kawhi, maybe it's still a playoff team, but they're not a lock to be a top 6 seed anymore.
Without Kawhi, I don't even think they're a playoff team.
That's the thing. Like, that's the spot that opens. The Spurs, you guys are higher than me on the Spurs, but they're not really going to be fighting for the playoffs anymore. The Pelicans are a mess. There's a lot of – the West is still really good and deep, but I think there's enough – Damian Lillard is almost enough to at least guarantee a play-in spot. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, I could just see this being a disaster season.
And I think it kind of hinges on if Phoenix, if that was a fluke year, or are you really good? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they'll plant themselves in the middle of the West.
They're making the playoffs for sure, but
I mean, I like the JaVale McGee signing by them, but man, I just feel I have just a feeling if you're Portland and you're fighting for 9th or 10th, do you make a trade or do you just do the playoffs and just
you have to make the trade?
What's the point of Portland's, like, what's their goal? That's what I don't get. They made that one Western Finals, but they had no chance in that series. They knew they had no chance. They got swept. They kind of lucked into that run, not to take anything away, but that was their peak, was making the Western Finals, getting swept by the Warriors, and that's it. And that may be the farthest they ever get, and it probably will be unless they make some crazy move. And I think, like, a few of these divisions, the line's probably like 2.5 playoff teams, with Portland being that half where it hinges on them. But it's gonna be tough in the West, and Portland's gonna have to do some soul searching on, like, what do we want to be as a franchise?
Yeah, because I mean, we've said it already. We didn't give a ranking 100%, but pretty much they're third in this division easily. And
they're holding that down.
Yeah, but I'm just like, you're not going to outbeat Utah. You're not going to outbeat Denver. Like, that's not going to happen. So I feel like you're already at that point where it's like, I'm not even the best in my division. I'm not even second best. I'm not even competing for it. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? And that's what I'm saying. I feel that it's that one team where it's like, man, I remember, like, there was that one year where the Rockets were just like, I really thought, like, yo, we're going to be like top 3. And we ended up, like, honestly, we were like top 7.
Yeah, but that's when James Harden fucked his knee up, and he had missed like 20 games.
Yeah, but I'm saying the knee up is gonna be this team not doing shit, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you're gonna come out the gate, and you're gonna be, after like a month, you're gonna end up noticing your ranking is like 8th or 9th, and it's like, oh damn, we can't even beat some of these teams we should be beating. I just feel like before trade deadline, you're going to definitely have to make a trade, like, at some point, which I don't think they are. I think they're going to ride this wave all the way into the playoffs again. They're going to be like, we got Damian Lillard, we got McCollum, and it's just like, it used to be enjoyable, like, oh man, you get to see Damian Lillard. Now it's kind of like, it's repetitive. Like, I know what you're giving me now. Like, there's nothing new there.
Yeah, no offense, but when he beat the Rockets in that buzzer beater all those years ago, that was when they were exciting. I was like, this team has limitless potential. They could be a challenge to the Warriors, and then it never was really a threat. And now And yeah, now they have to really look at themselves and say, hey, we're not a contender in the West. We're not even close. I think they're closer to Minnesota than they are to Utah or Denver in the division. And the only thing keeping them afloat in third is Lillard.
I don't think they're making the playoffs, bro. I don't.
Let's see, we got what? Lakers, Golden State. I mean, no particular order. Phoenix, Utah, Denver,
Utah, Dallas for sure.
Dallas. What?
Memphis is better.
This is where it kind of drops.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
the Clippers would have been there, but now, I mean, the Clippers will fight for the 8th seed or 9th seed.
Yeah.
But
So then White Clippers. And
I feel like
then
we're missing.
who else are we missing? There's somebody. It sounds like there's a team missing. I just feel it like.
Yeah, there's
Well,
going
it's
to be
either
like,
a
we
like
missed.
New Orleans, Houston, San Antonio.
That's why Portland might make the playoffs because it really does take a nosedive after Memphis. Yeah, Minnesota, Sacramento, Houston, San Antonio.
I could see them like a 10th.
There's no, yeah, it would almost be surprising lower than 10 once you list them out. Yeah, the East is really catching the West finally, and
It's better than the West.
yeah, flat out.
Yeah, it's better teams.
I think they have two of the best title contenders, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and then it's deeper too.
Brooklyn, Milwaukee. Man,
Boston's good, Miami's good.
I think Philly's better than Boston.
Oh, Philly, yep. No matter what happens with Simmons. So yeah,
Well,
I mean
Boston-
Portland can make the playing game, but like, woo, that's cool. And then you go against the Lakers or the Jazz or the Sun, whoever ends up being the 1 seed, and probably lose. I mean, Dame time will win you a game or two, but I would just hate to see this again. It's just depressing now.
It's not depressing because Damian Lillard scored 50 points in a double overtime game and got a $250 million contract. You're compensated, bro.
I just feel it's depressing because you're wasting him, and we see it like if we see it as fans, I know you see it like you run the team. That's your job to see this, and it's like.
But are you wasting anything?
You're wasting his talent.
But are you? Because is he not guilty a lot of the same shit that we accuse Luka and Harden for? You're a ball hog, bro. He could, of the three, he's probably the most capable of playing off the ball, but you don't. So everything that Harden and Luka are guilty of, so is Lillard.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, is nobody ever says anything about Lillard. Is you take plays off on defense too, bro.
I get it, but also, I mean, what do you want him to do, bro? He has CJ McCollum out there. Either he's hot or he's not. You got Joseph Nurkic out there that never mind. He's not out there sometimes because he's injured. I mean, you're just taking up money, bro. You give me a bunch of scrub dudes that you want me to think are what they're supposed to be, and they're not. Like, at least freaking Dallas tried with Kristaps Porzingis. It didn't work out and everything, but at least they were like, hey, you know what? We got to get you some help, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, shit. Morey every year was freaking fiddling somebody in for James Harden. He was like, Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, man, Russell Westbrook, let's go get you 10 guards. Like, what else do you want? You want your friend on the team? Like, and he did that. He went and got what's his name, the shooting guard, Bobby Jackson or whatever his name. No, I was when it was that one little shooting guard he got. Dude never played a game, and then Harden came out and he's like, "Oh, that's my friend." I was like, bro, who was his name, man? I cannot remember. He would always be practicing with him. But anyway, back
I'll come to you. But you're right. And then Portland goes to Lillard, and they're like, hey, we got you Norman Powell.
That was a good pickup, though.
Melo.
That was a good pickup.
And Melo was washed when they got him, or at least it looked like he was washed. And then he turned out to have something left in the tank. And then they got rid of him now. So
that's the only team he's going to fit on. That's a one-on-one team.
Yeah, it's all ISO, unless Chauncey comes in with some crazy scheme that ends up unlocking all these guys. They're one of the most frustrating teams, but there's no obvious move. I think the timeline to trade McCollum would have been a year or two ago, I think his value has just gone lower and lower every year. It's kind of like Miles Turner, how he's been available for so long that no one wants him anymore.
And
Well,
and
they
that's
say trade him a year early, not a year late.
and that's why I feel like the teams that are rebuilding slowly are smart, because you still have LeBron in the league out in the West. You still got, Kevin Durant. I mean, you still have your top guys growing with you, but at some point, LeBron's going to retire. At some point, Durant's going to get up there in age where his game's going to change just a drastic little bit. And so that's what I'm saying, though. But I feel we always say this with these teams. You're content with, I have to sell out my arena. I have to get playoff tickets. That doesn't do anything for you. I'd rather suck really bad for a little bit. And I guess because I'm an Astros fan, I was okay with being the Lastros because I knew where it was leading to. I mean, even Philly kind of did it. But I mean, they did it a little too embellished with the trust the process and all that stuff. But they kind of did that where it's like, all right, we're going to suck for a bit and then we're just going to build it. But, I mean, do something, because you're like you said, you're almost close to Minnesota, like, and you don't have picks, you don't have there's nothing to show for it but Damian Lillard and a broke man's what's it called, Bradley.
But it's like James said about Gobert's contract, is you doomed yourself by giving people money because you were scared of losing them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it.
Like, Utah is kind of locked up too because they can't make trades, because who wants that giant deal? And they're definitely not getting rid of Donovan.
And
so,
right.
And
I
so
they're
going to be
like their fans would have rioted if they got rid of Gobert for nothing. So they're kind of in a tough spot, and Gobert was demanding what he got. So it is tough. It's not easy to run a franchise, but a signing trade.
But it basically locks you. Okay, you're locked up for 6 years now with Gobert and Mitchell. You know what I mean? So even if if LeBron retired in 2 years, it's like, okay, we're not good enough to still win, so we're pushing this rebuild back 7 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Opposed to the fact like Houston's like, nah, bro, we got a 19-year-old, we got a 20-year-old, we got a 21-year-old. We're way ahead of the game.
But that's why I feel like if you're Portland and you're at the 10th spot, like, I mean, either you make a big trade to try to get up there and try it out, if not blow it the hell up. But I mean, you're just like, you're playing it safe. Every season you're just chilling, coasting, like, man, maybe everybody gets hurt and we win the title, Maybe
the way the West is being built right now, if you make a drastic, stupid, crazy trade, you need to go get a big man. It has to be a big man
who can do anything on offense.
Cat. I don't know what their pick situation looks like, but I would try to get Big Cat.
Cat is the opposite of Gobert too.
Yeah.
They're like polar opposites. One locks down.
No, I was talking about for Portland. If I'm freaking like Utah, I would try to finagle my way into other players that I'm not locked up with. Like if I'm Utah and somehow I could get my hands on Kyle Kuzma, that'd be great. Because he's too stupid to not shoot the ball. And sometimes that's their problem, is they want to play system basketball. And then the guys that know they're not good enough to go get their own bucket. Kuzma will at least go shoot it.
The Ingles for Kuzma rumors made a lot of sense and then never happened.
But I would also ask for more from Washington because they got a bunch of good 3-and-D players over there.
That's what Utah needs. Utah's biggest needs 3-and-D. Denver's biggest needs a point guard to fill in for Murray, which Campazzo might be. We'll see how he does.
I mean, Will Barton can play the point. You got Austin Rivers. You still got Monte Morris. I think they need more 3-and-D also, but not necessarily like, I don't know. I think they need another big man that could make a play on his own because I don't think Gordon can do it.
I think Denver's problems are a lot more fixable than Portland's and Utah's.
Their fix is easy. It's called bowl.
I'm a bowl guy too, so I agree. But yeah, they have an easy fix. Portland's fix is a little trickier, and then Utah's is tough too because who are they going to trade for a 3-and-D guy?
Oh man, and that's the thing with like Utah. I feel it's hard because you're like you said earlier, they're so good in the regular season. They're like pretty much locked in at first every year it seems like, but then you get to the playoffs and your true colors show. So it's like if you blow it up, like you're kind of like, well, why was we don't even make the playoffs next time? Well, it's like Portland, like y'all are barely gonna make it, so y'all just need to do something. And
But
I
it's
think
like you said, Portland, they missed their opportunity on McCollum when he was hot. Imagine like 2 years ago, or like, yeah, not last year. You could have probably made a trade for like CJ McCollum to Miami for like Princess Achua and Tyler Hero. So you could have got a good 2-for-1.
Yeah, but now you can barely get a good 1-for-1. And then
there would have been teams that would have traded. Like I could see like maybe like New York, before they signed Evan Fournier for a ridiculous amount of money. And I mean Boston, like I'm sure they would have bid on him at some point. But I mean, you're just waiting, and then especially like we have to see how they play. If he plays terrible this year, then your draft stock goes even worse down. Like, like
Who's CJ?
Well, I think if the team plays bad in general, if I'm a GM, I'm gonna be like, yo, y'all are playing bad. You need him off of your team. Like, I'm not gonna give you what you want. Y'all can still suck. I don't care. We're doing okay. I'll go find somebody else.
But that's the thing. CJ always starts the year out good, and he either gets hurt or he waits till around the trade deadline when it's too late to start sucking. Last year, he came out balling. He was on fire, and then he got hurt. He rolled his ankle or something.
Dan,
once again, injuries are always killing the Blazers. But going back to Utah real quick, I just thought of an interesting cross-sport comparison. Donovan Mitchell reminds me a little bit of Lamar Jackson. Both went to Louisville, so there we go. But also, both killing in the regular season. Both have just tons of potential. Both were kind of overlooked going in the draft. I mean, Lamar, they thought should be a receiver. Mitchell wasn't a lottery or barely a lottery pick. And both have shown out in the regular season, but have just come up short in the playoffs. And it comes to a point where, like, can Lamar win a playoff game through the air? Can Mitchell carry a team in the playoffs on his own? And it's going to get tougher and tougher for Mitchell. But I also think Mitchell out of this division is most likely to be an MVP guy, because I don't think Jokic is going to repeat, because it's hard to repeat, and the voters seem to have hated to have voted for him in the first place, and he gets no credit, as you were saying. So I really, if Mitchell can get to an MVP level, which I think is there, and Dwayne Wade might be overblown how much he helps, but I don't think he hurts Mitchell's development. Then
But I also think like it is like Dwayne Wade's actual career is like, as good as Wade was, I never thought he would, like, I can't remember a year where like Wade should have been MVP or he was in contention for MVP, you know? And it's not a knock on him. It's just like, there's just 2 or 3 guys that are obviously better than you every year, you know?
But then again in 06, while he wasn't MVP, he carried that team over Dallas. And that's what Mitchell has to do. MVP doesn't really matter. Even Giannis said it. Giannis didn't really care about the MVPs. He wanted the title. And that's what all these players won. There's no player who would.
To me, it goes back to Mitchell needs another running. He needs a running buddy, because just think about the playoffs against Denver 2 years ago in the bubble. Him and Murray went heads up for like 4 games. They balled out this year. He was balling out. He rolled his ankle, had a problem. He rolled his ankle going into the playoffs, came back, rolled it again. He's not. First off, he's bow-legged, so he don't need to be trying to jump so high. 2, he's just not built to do it every night, all night. You know what I mean?
You need that.
And Bogdanovich is good in spurts, but like he had a few good regular season games when Mitchell's out, but in the playoffs, you could tell it was more mental. He was in his own head. He couldn't really be the guy when they needed him.
Yeah, he could.
Dan sent me a thing that I don't know if it's real or not, but it says the Denver Nuggets have emerged as the most likely Ben Simmons destination.
Hell no.
I don't see why they would do that.
That would be the worst destination for him, because if you can't shoot a 3, then you can't play with the Joker.
It says supposedly Philadelphia wants a deal done in next week. I don't see, if you gave Aaron Gordon that big contract, why that would make sense.
Who would they trade to? And Simmons offers a lot of it.
Exactly.
Minus the shooting.
Yeah.
He's basically like Jokic without a shot.
Yeah, I can see that.
Super faster.
Yeah, I don't know. I have my picks. I think it's honestly Houston, and I would say maybe
Washington. I mean, there's quite a few teams: Houston, OKC, Minnesota, Sacramento.
You're thinking the West? is more
Huh?
likely.
I think he goes to the West. I think he's a Western Conference kind of player.
Yeah,
He's still young. He's so young. I think there's a second career for him because Embiid's been the guy in Philly, and I think that rubs Simmons a little wrong way. And as Nick said, the fans don't really appreciate anything he does.
I'm telling you that one newscast, I thought it was fake, and literally they had a trash can floating down the river, and they said, "Look, it's Ben Simmons leaving Philadelphia." I was like,
that's a tough market. They either love you or they think you're a trash can floating up.
yeah. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I remember I was watching the news one time. This was way back when Nelson Aguilar played for Philly, and the guy was catching babies out of the fire apartment. He goes, "Yeah, I was catching them, unlike Nelson Aguilar." I'm like, bro, you come on, bro. Like, you had to, like, it's just crazy. Like,
I get it. Way.
But I mean, there are those fan bases like we've talked about. I mean, we all know them in sports. New York, Philly, LA, like
Chicago.
If you
Pittsburgh
suck, you will get chewed up, eat out, and murdered at.
Boston.
Pittsburgh's an underrated one. They turn on players. I lived out there for a little. They turn on players so quick. They all hated Le'Veon Bell in a month. Yeah. Oh, he's a baby. We want him out.
Well, that's just like in Houston.
He's the best running back in football.
It's like Houston and Deshaun. It was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even with James Harden, it's like, okay, bro, we visibly seen you quit on the team, and 2 days later you're traded, and everybody was. I didn't really hear too many complaints about that.
No one really wants a guy in their city who doesn't want to be there and who openly quits on the team, and no matter how good he is.
James Harden looked like me when he showed up to that first game, bro. I was like, this dude ate at 5 people's Thanksgivings right before this game.
At a strip club.
Yeah. And wings at a strip club, bro, because that boy there I was like, he ain't even going to make it to the fourth quarter. Like, this boy was tripping. That's why I like, Zach said with the Deshaun Watson thing, like, we know you don't want to be here now, so just stay quiet. Just be quiet. Like, the Ben Simmons thing, he hasn't really said much until now. And I feel now with training camp coming up,
but that's not him.
That's
not him. That's Rich Paul. That's Rich Paul with a big mouth. He's the P. Diddy. He's the P. Diddy of pro sports agencies.
I think for Ben, though, it's good because I can see, like, if I'm over here saying, like, damn, they treating this boy bad, I can just imagine how he feels waking up every day. Like, you couldn't even go to the damn grocery store, bro.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, Ben Simmons can't. There has to be some accountability. Is you stunk the joint up in the playoffs? You literally did not show up to play.
Oh yeah.
So I have some things to say about that. If you can't take it, then you shouldn't be playing at that level.
And I'm not saying that he can't take it. What I'm saying though is, bro, like, they're going in on this boy like hardcore. Like, and I get it. Like, when whoever came out and said, like, oh, I don't need to fix my trade. Yeah, you do, bro, because your trade value right now is bad, and that was how you played. Like, you got to take. I do agree. You have to take some initiative for it. But I mean, like, bro, these dudes are going in on him. Like, you got the whole city just like wishing bad upon him. Yeah. It's like, come on, bro.
It's crazy that everyone talks about that one play, and I remember watching it live when he had that dunk and he passed it up to Max and got fouled. It was in the moment. I was like, oh, that's weird. He was right under the basket. You think he could have, and that's another comparison to Gobert, because I could totally see Gobert doing that in a playoff game, going up for a dunk and then passing it out to Ingles, who's not ready for it.
Yeah. But you got to think about it. Like, there's like 2 wrongs don't make a right. He was wrong in every sense. The team is wrong, and the only way it could have been corrected is like if a teammate like Embiid came in and stuck up for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, I got
sticking up for him, but
Embiid could easily be like, okay, the team got my back no matter what, so I'm gonna stick up for my bro, my teammate, and then they don't have a choice but to ride for him. I ain't seen that happen yet.
No, and Embiid even said right after the game, he's like, we had a play where we could have got a dunk instead of we made one free throw. Like, he, without even naming him too, which I think is even worse. Like, stop tweeting your teammate.
Yeah, I think that was the downfall right there. Like, as a leader, like, I would have been like, look, we lost the game as a team. Now, when I get to that locker room, I'm making known, like, hey, dog, you should have shot the damn shot, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? But you let everything out, and so now you put your team in turmoil. And I mean, I don't care what Doc Rivers comes out and says, "Oh, we needed him to win a champ," bro. We all know, bro. We see the writing on the wall already. It's there. And like I said, I just feel like when it comes to this, man, if you don't have your teammates back, like the next person, Tabo Harris, good luck, bro, because you next, bro. They got every team has a scapegoat. Every team got that one person that the fans are like, oh, that's why we lost the game because so and so.
But you don't see Giannis, you don't see Durant, you don't see them being like, oh, we lost the game. Sterling Brown should have.
Yeah, but in all fairness, I get where you guys are coming from, but you can look at their playoff loss, and that is why they lost. Simmons is why they lost.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't score in the fourth, you were ball dominant, and you refused to do you. And if we're losing by 2 or 3 points, and our first or second best player has 0 points, it's a problem.
And he never got his free throws right.
Exactly. That's all Giannis did. Let me figure out how to shoot the free throws, and then it'll all work itself out. And he didn't even learn how to shoot free throws. And I think that they should do with Ben Simmons what they did with Tristan Thompson. It's like you're fundamentally so poor shooting the ball with your left hand. Learn how to do it with your right hand.
Yeah. I just feel also that like it comes down to, like we always say, the fit for the team. You knew this was a forced fit. This was a forced fit that you were like, I don't want to give up one talent for, and so you forced it, tried to mirror it with other players around it, and it finally blew up. And I mean, that's where you're stuck in now. That's why I do feel they have to get rid of him, because I mean, you're gonna have just the lingering effect of it on your team, like man, you know, we got a dude, you know, sitting over here at home chilling, just getting, you know, yeah, he's getting fined and shit, but it ain't helping us. If you make a trade that can help us, that's even better. But if you're just, that's one player out of your whole locker room that actually can play, and you have got nothing for him. He's just sitting out chilling. That's a whole year wasted off of you.
Not getting James Harden is monumental. Not getting him for Simmons when they could have. And I don't know what went wrong with that trade, because apparently it was very close. But that shifted the power in the East, because now Brooklyn's more of a juggernaut. But Philly could have avoided all this drama. If they had gotten Harden, him and Embiid would have meshed well together. Would have been completely different. Then Ben would have been down in Houston, and things I think would have been better all around.
It wouldn't have been, because we would have won more games than we should, and we wouldn't have Jalen Green. So the fact that we got Green and we're still probably prime position to make a trade and get Simmons, Rafael Stone could make himself legendary around here if he could pull that off.
He did.
But in all fairness, it's like what sucks for Ben Simmons is like, okay, bro, you gave him the opportunity to shit on you. You had to take the blame. And now you're the one on the way out, when in actuality, that team is put together to play with either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. Either one would do fine in it. Yeah. But you're the one that's got to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, shoot. Where are we ranking these teams in the Northwest?
I got Utah, Denver, Portland, Minnesota, OKC.
I got Denver, Utah, Portland, Minnesota, OKC.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Denver, and I'm gonna go Utah. I'm gonna go Utah, Denver. Can't believe I said that. Disgusting. Utah, Denver, Portland. Yeah, Minnesota.
Riding with the Joker.
Okay,
he's for sure that good.
I just want to see what's his name comes back with his injury.
Murray.
Yeah, Murray. I just want to see what he does. I mean, I won't be mad if Denver's up there. I liked watching them. They were fun to watch. Yeah.
I did too.
Ain't like my team gonna be in the playoffs anyway, so
this could be the year Denver actually contends for the West.
I think if they had a healthy Murray, they would have done a lot of damage.
Because Murray's going to come back later in the season, so if he's 100%, which is tough to ask for, he'll be, I mean, I guess pretty fresh. I mean, coming off an injury is tough, and then the West has a lot of question marks amongst its juggernauts. Obviously, the Lakers are going to be favored to win the West, but
I think that they might have potentially bought the West already. Like, they paid enough to get the right people, but freaking Golden State, bro. Don't sleep on that team.
That's going to be a fun division once we get to the Pacific.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be really fun. The Kings?
What about
them? Man, that's our favorite team. Man.
They're going to go with 5 point guards.
Yeah.
The first NBA team to win Summer League 2 times.
Hey, back to back.
As they doing something.
Get the banners up.
Oh, man. But all right, boys. It's been a good one. Y'all have a good weekend.
All
We'll
right.
figure it out. Go follow us.
Variety Sports Network. Built